Only the now breathes. High in the mountains of Kyoto, where the wind sings through the pines and the streams whisper ancient secrets, there lived an elderly monk named Ryokan. His temple, more like a wooden hut than a sanctuary, lacked clocks, calendars, or anything that marked time. There, the days slid by like clouds, with no rush, no destination. A young man named Haru, overwhelmed by the anxiety of the future, arrived one morning seeking answers. His father was ill, his job unstable, and the weight of decisions suffocated him. "Master Ryokan," he said, bowing deeply, "I have come because tomorrow torments me. I don't know what will become of me. How can I find peace?" The old monk smiled without saying a word. Then he stood slowly and pointed to a small garden behind the temple. "Help me water the carrots," he said softly. "The roots don't wait for the future to grow." Confused but obedient, Haru took the watering can and walked with the master. The sun had just begun to warm the earth. As the water fell on the green rose, the young man asked, "Shouldn't we talk about my future?" Ryokan looked at him calmly and replied, "We will right after watering the last plant." And in that moment, Haru felt for the first time something he couldn't understand. A slight peace, as if the present moment opened like a flower between his fingers. When they finished watering the garden, Ryokan sat on a smooth stone and closed his eyes. Haru, still uneasy, sat next to him. "Master," he insisted, "why don't you answer about what awaits me? I need to know if everything will be okay." Ryokan picked up a fallen leaf and held it in front of the young man's face. "Look at this leaf. Do you know when the next one will fall?" "No," Haru replied. "Neither does it. But that doesn't stop it from dancing with the wind." The silence stretched like a calm lake. The master's words were simple, yet they sank deeply. Haru lowered his gaze, caught in his thoughts. "But if I don't think about tomorrow," he murmured, "how can I prepare? What if I lose what I love?" Ryokan lifted his gaze to the clear sky. "Tomorrow is not promised. It never has been. The only thing you have is this," he said, touching the ground with his palm. "This moment, this breath." Then he added, "He who lives trapped in tomorrow forgets how to savor today's rice, how to listen to the song of the passing crow. Only now asks for your attention, Haru. Everything else is missed." For the first time in a long while, the young man stopped asking and simply listened. That night, the sky filled with stars and the forest fell silent, as though it too was meditating. Haru shared a simple meal with Ryokan: rice, boiled vegetables, and a bitter yet comforting tea. The young man, still accustomed to the hustle of the city, marveled at how full such small things could feel. "Have you never feared the future, master?" he asked while holding his warm bowl. Ryokan blew the steam from his tea and answered, "Yes. When I was young like you, I thought that if I didn't control everything, the world would fall apart. But one day I realized that my fear didn't prevent anything. It only robbed the beauty of the present." He paused for a moment, and with a serene look, added, "Haru, there's a trap in the mind. It believes that if it worries enough, it will avoid pain. But pain comes anyway. Worry just charges you for it in advance." The young man pressed his lips together. His mind, accustomed to running, was beginning to slow down. For the first time, he didn't feel the urgency to do something. He was just there, eating rice under the stars. And that, in some way, was enough. The next morning, Ryokan woke before dawn and went out to sweep the stone steps in front of the temple. Haru watched him from the entrance, surprised by the delicacy with which the old man performed such a simple task. Each movement was slow, almost ceremonial, as if sweeping wasn't a means to clean, but a sacred act. "Why do you sweep so slowly?" Haru asked as he approached. The monk smiled without stopping his sweeping. Because there is no place to go. The young man laughed, thinking it was a joke, but then realized that Ryokan was serious. There was no rush in his life, no pending goals, no clocks chasing him. Just that moment, the broom, and the soft song of the wind through the trees. But in my world, everything runs, Haru said. If I don't hurry, I'll fall behind. Ryokan stopped sweeping and looked at him with tenderness. Behind what, Haru? Who told you life was a race? The young man didn't know how to respond. The master leaned the broom against the wall and offered him a cup of freshly brewed tea. Tea doesn't taste better when you rush it, he said, and life, neither. That afternoon, Ryokan took Haru on a walk along a path winding through wild cherry trees. The pink flowers were beginning to fall with the breeze, covering the ground like a soft blanket. Look at these flowers, the master said, stopping beneath a laden branch. They don't know if they'll still be here tomorrow. That's why they bloom today without reservations. Haru looked up and watched a flower fall, spin in the air, and settle on the path. A knot formed in his chest. I've spent so many days fearing to lose my father that I've barely looked at him. Ryokan gazed at him in silence. Then, he picked up a fallen flower and placed it in the young man's palm. Death will come when it's meant to, but in the meantime, you can still sit by his side, hear his voice, laugh with him. That's all life offers you. Don't wait for guarantees. Accept the gift you have in your hands. Haru held the flower gently. Something inside him loosened, like a thread that no longer needed to hold on to anything. And for the first time, he wished to return. Not to plan, nor to protect, but to live with his father while they still could. That night, Haru sat by the temple's small pond. The surface of the water reflected the moon like a still mirror. He wasn't thinking about his job, his debts, or his father's illness. He was simply listening. The croak of a frog, the crackle of a branch, the sound of his own breath. Ryokan appeared silently, as he often did, and sat beside him. What do you see in the water, Haru? I see the moon, he replied without thinking. And yet the moon is not there, only its reflection. So too is the future, a reflection of your mind. It is not real, but it can stir the water if you follow it too closely. Haru nodded slowly. He understood, not with his logical mind, but with a deeper, older part of himself. What if tomorrow never comes, master? Ryokan looked at him with soft eyes, like the bamboo that bends but does not break. Then you will have lived fully until the last breath. The young man felt the words dissolve inside him like a tea tablet in hot water. That moment was clear. It was whole. It was everything. At dawn, Haru packed his backpack to leave. The air was cool, and the clouds brushed the mountains as if whispering farewells. Ryokan accompanied him to the path's entrance. There were no speeches, no blessings, just a cup of tea shared in silence. Thank you for everything, master, Haru said with a deep bow. Don't thank me, Ryokan replied. Thank this moment which has always been waiting for you. Haru smiled. It was a different smile born from within. Not because his problems had been solved, but because he no longer lived chained to them. Will I forget this? He asked. Ryokan shrugged. Maybe. The mind is like a puppy. It always chases after what shines. But every time you remember to look at your feet, you'll return to the present. And what if I'm afraid? The master looked him in the eyes and said in a clear voice, breathe, look at what's in front of you, and remember, tomorrow is not promised. But this moment is yours. Treat it with care. With a light heart, Haru began his journey back. And as he descended the mountain, each step was an offering to the now. The journey back was different. Haru no longer counted the steps, nor measured the distance. He stopped to smell the wildflowers, to watch the insects crossing the path, to listen to the song of the trees. When he arrived home, his father was waiting silently, reclining by the window. Haru sat beside him and said nothing. He didn't speak of the future, nor the fear, nor the pain. He simply took his hand, and together they watched the light of the sunset fall over the garden. Time ceased to be an enemy. There was no urgency. There was no struggle, just the miracle of being there, breathing. The days passed. Some were gentle, others difficult. But Haru no longer lived in the after. He had learned, like the flower, to open in the moment, to receive each moment for what it was, a gift without guarantee, but whole. And when, many years later, someone came asking how to live without fear of the future, Haru didn't offer answers. He simply extended a cup of hot tea and said, "Drink slowly. This sip is your life."